So, I think we should all put our hands together, as I'm doing now, which is very weird, for Drew McIntyre, officially, or at least so far in February 2024, the hater of the year. Gonna stop this now. That's right, we just had Monday Night Raw, and honestly, CM Punk getting injured was the worst thing ever. And over the weekend, given that it was the Elimination Chamber, he actually did an Instagram story, I believe it was, where he said, I'm really struggling today. Obviously, he was probably going to win the Elimination Chamber matchup. And now he's at home and recovering. And seriously, it's not the pain of an injury that gets into your head, it's everything that goes around it. I understand I wrestle on a way lower level than CM Punk, but even when I get injured and you can't do your local booking down the street, it does something to your tum-tum. It's very weird. So I do want to send all the best to that guy. But in terms of the machine that is WWE, they had to pivot. They had to come up with something new. They've gone with Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. And even though this is like round number 72 between those guys, holy flub am I plugged in. You have Drew McIntyre come out and he's basically acting like a faux baby face, slapping people's hands and saying, we did it, we did it. Then of course he takes a shot at CM Punk when he said, well, the doctor said to me after the Elimination Chamber that I was injured, I may have to miss Mania. And I was like, who do you think I am? CM Punk. So there's been all these rumors that Drew McIntyre hasn't yet signed a new contract. I cannot believe they haven't come to an agreement, because we have now set up that match with him and CM Punk when CM Punk does come back. And of course, one of the quote-unquote main events at WrestleMania, probably on day 2 now, and obviously it won't be the last match, is going to be Drew versus Seth. If you put a gun to my head, as I like to say often, Drew has to win, and I tell you how he is going to win. Thanks to interference from the Bloodline. Because when Seth Rollins came out there and they had their big promo off, Drew was all like, yeah, I think you should probably leave SmackDown alone because I don't want the Bloodline to get involved in this match. And Seth was like, that's why I have to do it, damn it. You know what they're like. Eventually they're going to come after the World Heavyweight Championship anyway, so we need to cut them off of the pass. So if that is what's going to happen, here's what we should do. Next week it's going to be Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre should win that because Jimbo Uso screws over Jey Uso again. That builds that WrestleMania 40 match. And then McIntyre can still walk around going, well, I didn't want that to happen either. I can't believe all this stuff keeps happening. All these wins. Don't forget, all the victories he got, all the W's that he got in the Elimination Chamber were basically done by shenanigans. And then I would assume by night 2 of WrestleMania, we have had the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins tag team match on night 1. So there is going to be some kind of flaboo before we get to Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns on night 2. And given that Seth versus Drew will come before that, the very last act, I suppose, of the Bloodline get involved in the Seth versus Drew match. That allows Drew to win, and then he can come out and Raw and say, yeah, I know I said all that stuff, but I don't care. I'm the champion. Stick it up your pipe. That'll be so good too, because as I've called this video, or I may have changed the title, it doesn't do very well. Sometimes I like to try and experiment. Drew is just a wonderful hater. And the reason he gets away with it so much is because every single thing he says has an element of truth in it. And how many times have we heard that in the past as well? A great heel is always somebody that can tell you what's actually happening. They just do it like they're a little bit of a dick. And given that Drew McIntyre has lost to Seth Rollins a lot now, well, it's twofold really. He's lost to him a lot, and they all made sense at the time. I don't think we'd be able to get to this point if he hadn't made those losses. But more importantly than that is that you don't want to take away this momentum that Drew McIntyre has. He has to win that championship. Now, so many people are saying, oh, maybe Damian Priest can then cash in. And you could do that, but I have a funny feeling that Damian may be cashing in on somebody different, but that's a different story. It's a different video for a different day. We have to make a lot of content, and I don't want to give things away. But that was so well done, and Drew's character has been so well done as well, that he should absolutely win that World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins, even if he didn't have the interference, which I think you should do, because I just think it elevates the whole thing up to another level. Him beating Seth is totally fine. Once again, he is on a tear right now. Regardless how he did it, he did win the Elimination Chamber. We've also told a story for the last year that Seth Rollins has a bad back and now Seth Rollins has a bad knee. So Drew McIntyre could easily be like, well, I can see your wounds flashing red, Seth. I'm going to go after them. But I also like the idea of Cody Rhodes potentially walking away with the WWE title as a good guy, and then Drew McIntyre walking away with the other world title as just the biggest asshole bad guy on the planet. So really, I thought it was a tremendous segment. You can say maybe nothing to blow away, but it doesn't have to be right now, because again, we're in the building mode. But they have sold me that this could absolutely be a main event. I mean, I'd be happy for them to main event it on night 1 of WrestleMania, but I think it's better if you do it on night 2 and it comes after that tag team match, because again, there's so many stories that we can tell. But yes, I just think it's really, really well done, and it's a masterclass in many ways about, you know, having your deck of cards fall down, because we can't do Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, which I was super excited for, and of course I'm still disappointed, but I'm more than happy with the alternative. That's why it gets a round of applause, and that's WWE doing so well. And I think the other reason is because when you look through the whole card too, there's so much to buzz about. Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch are now properly getting into each other's faces, but we're also making sure we're telling the Nia Jax story, and we're sticking Liv Morgan in there as well. And I would say the best thing that Triple H does, I think his #1 booking trait, is that he will make these narratives, and he'll make sure they all segue in together, they all cross those streams. So be it before WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, you have lined more people people up to make challenges. For example, I go back to what I was just talking about. Regardless what happens with Drew, if at one point he wants to go, by the way, Cody, I'd like to kick your ass too, he can say that because he beat him last week. But yeah, obviously we're having Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. And this is why I like the fact that WWE has held back on their shenanigan finishes, because it means when you do something like a disqualification, it can actually have a proper reasoning. So Becky Lynch comes out because Nia Jax had beaten her up earlier. She wants her revenge. You can ask the question, why the hell did she wait 10 minutes? That's just how wrestling works for some reason. We have accepted it. Now, even though we understand her frustrations and why she would attack Nia and smash her head into Alan Announce Table, make sure you check out Ups and Downs right now, WWE Raw over on What Culture, it screwed over Liv Morgan. So Liv Morgan, as she did do, has complete justification to say, excuse me, Becky, this wasn't about you. You stuck your oar in, much like other people on this show, and now you've screwed me over. I thought the way she sold this was really good. So if Becky Lynch does win the championship at Mania, and again, I think that's dubious, maybe you do want to keep it on Rhea, you can now do Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch. Hey, if you want to go complete over the top with WrestleMania, you could have Liv Morgan now interfere in Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, and that's the reason Rhea Ripley wins. Now, I wouldn't do that because I think Rhea can be so dominant, and she comes across as such a challenge, I suppose. I don't think she needs help anymore. Again, she used to do that with Dominic Mysterio, but it kind of feels like she's evolved. But you certainly could, because again, it's all about how Rhea sells it, and I suppose this is almost a twist on what Drew McIntyre is doing, although we don't want to get into the territory where we're just doing the same thing over and over again. Whereas Drew is like, oh, I didn't want that to happen, but actually I did. Maybe the way you turn Rhea face, which is absolutely coming, she's so over, it's ridiculous, is somebody does interfere, not even on her behalf, and she's like, Liv, why'd you do that? Now I'm going to rip your head off. And that could even lead to some kind of triple threat match if you so wish. But yes, I just thought all of this on paper works so well, and it's one of the reasons why Raw doesn't feel 3 hours anymore, because it ebbs and flows. Makes me sound like an a-hole, I know. I do apologize, but the fact that it does have this momentum to it, there's that word again, just makes it such an easy watch. And now we're doing that too with the Intercontinental title stuff, which is almost like the headline act when it comes to all of this, because Gunther could face, let me see if I can get this right, well, there's Dominic Mysterio, there's The Miz, there's Chad Gable, there's Bronson Reed, there's R-Truth, and there's Sami Zayn. And there could be somebody else I'm forgetting about. Now, Sami Zayn did defeat Shinsuke Nakamura, so maybe he has the biggest shout. But once again, would you want to make a guess right now? Maybe we do some crazy multi-man match, and that's the way we get the title off Gunther. He loses it, even though nobody pinned him. Now, usually, personally, I would actually be against all that, but the thing is, if you are about to move Gunther up to world title territory, which we absolutely have to do, he's got to be Cody Rhodes' first opponent, as far as I'm concerned, that's a great way to justify it. He comes out on the Raw after Mania and goes, listen, you mugs, actually talk like that, like an East End gangster. Listen, you tomatoes, I can't believe that I am no longer the Intercontinental Champion after holding it for like 976 days, and I wasn't even pinned. Like, if you did this with Roman Reigns and you did it with somebody else that had a belt, it would absolutely suck. But if you just choose to do it with Gunther, I don't think there's a problem with it as long as you don't do it again for ages. Again, use the things that are in front of you. I mean, it feels a little bit overkill doing a 6-man match or a 5-man match or even a 4-man match, but that triple threat last year with Gunther was pretty damn good, and it does get more people on the WrestleMania card. And actually, when you do go through it right now, it is getting quite packed. I mean, before they basically teased there's going to be Randy Orton versus Logan Paul and probably Kevin Owens after the Elimination Chamber or on the Elimination Chamber, I couldn't work Randy Orton into proceedings. So, you know, it's quite crazy time to figure out who is going to be on the show of shows. But I do love the fact that WWE are keeping us guessing, because again, there's so many things we do know. Drew versus Seth, Cody versus Roman, probably the tag team match, and there's Bayley versus Io Sky, and we have Becky versus Rhea. So we're absolutely on the road to WrestleMania now. There is so much to talk about, and thankfully, even despite all this, we are still making sure we feature those women tag team championships, because Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark were talking about them, beat Indus LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Candice LeRae, and mentioned the Kabuki Warriors, so hopefully we will do that too. Don't get me wrong, these championships still need a lot of work, but that's just because for a good few years they were treated like nothing, but at least now everybody involved is trying to make something of them, and I massively appreciate that, so we will wait and see. But yes, ultimately, I thought it was a very good episode of Raw. I loved Cody going absolutely crazy at the end. I personally would have done Cody versus Grayson Waller on Elimination Chamber, but it's such a non-point. Why even waste our time thinking about it? It doesn't matter. We got it on Raw instead. And a shout out to my man AJ Kirsch as well. You may remember AJ from the Tough Enough series with Stone Cold Steve Austin back in 2010 or 2011. I'm good friends with AJ, so to see him come out as one of the security guards, I popped in my house because I am a massive nerd. And of course, Cody tells, I'm now hunting the bloodline, which could be a brand new TV show on Bravo. For some reason, Paul Heyman has 2 phones. One to ring The Rock, one to ring Roman Reigns. This is why I love professional wrestling. That's so silly. Because for starters, I said this on Ups and Downs, he could just start a group chat. We are living in 2024. Can you imagine having this kind of conversation? Holy crap. I mean, you have The Rock in one ear and Roman Reigns on the other. Paul Heyman probably going to go absolutely nuts. But what we've teased here is that they're giving Cody Rhodes an out, right? If you don't want to do this, you probably shouldn't do this. But of course he will. I am intrigued about that tag match, because if my prediction of The Rock actually being in cahoots with Cody is true, how the hell do you do that match without him attacking those two and then somehow screwing over Roman Reigns without Roman realizing, unless he's actually in it, and I don't know. There's no point talking about it now. Again, we shall do that on another. But I will leave it there because I think that's most of the tent poles we have here. I basically just wanted to run my mouth about Drew McIntyre, who is doing terrific work. But as always, make sure you go in the comments below and let me know what you thought about Raw and all that kind of stuff. Click the notification bell, like, share, subscribe. There's a video on the screen. It's probably not going to be my WWE 2K related stuff, but please do check that out. This should be a 2-a-day video. We don't usually do those, or 2 videos for 1 day. But there is another embargo about my rise, so I'll try and squeeze that into date as well. But please do check all that stuff out. And a shout out to GorillaMind.com/Simon, who always support the channel too. Today and tomorrow, there's 25% off certain things on the website, so do make sure you use that code if you're into your fitness. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, Simon Miller on Cameo. I'm on Pro Wrestling Tees and Samson Athletics as Simon Miller. If you'd like to buy some of my merch, always fun to see that. Otherwise, I think I have to go and rest. I've got this stupid thing on my head from where I got walloped being a professional wrestler, and I'm just really tired because I haven't slept all weekend, but that's okay because people keep giving me nice opportunities, and I racked up my first win in progress over the weekend. That's one, my friends. Now we have to try and get 2. It's going to be pretty hard.